Hello, friends and music lovers. It's your girl Azalea Jane. I put a I issued myself a rant challenge where I asked some friends on Facebook and Twitter to give me a topic to rant on, and and I would rant on it, unscripted. So one person suggested jazz. Rant about jazz. Okay, I'll rant about jazz. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to say though. But here goes. Um, so I do have some thoughts about jazz because my dad is a jazz guitarist. He's about 76 now, and he's been playing since he was in his, teens or something. He went to Berklee School of Music, as he calls it. It's now called college. Um, and then ended up touring with people a bunch. And so I was raised with sort of jazz around the house. He played a lot. Unfortunately, my mom doesn't like jazz at all. So and that wasn't a very good dynamic because, well, here's the thing about jazz is that a lot of jazzers are elitist assholes. Now, elitism is not at all. I mean, if there's one group of musicians that really takes the cake for elitism, it would be classical musicians, people in the European church music tradition. Um, I'm steeped in that tradition myself, and I have seen the elitism inside, and I can see it from outside. But jazz also has a very special little place in the elitism Hall of Fame. Um, None of the arguments make any sense because no music is better or worse than another. I say it's completely fine if you say I like this better than this music. That's cool. But if you start going on about how your kind of music is better because X, Y, Z, whatever the hell reasons you made up, that's where I draw the line. That's where I say, no, fuck you. You don't get to decide that one music is, quote, better intrinsically or whatever than another. They'll go on about how, pop music or folk music is boring because it's only got three chords, as if the purpose of music is to be complex intrinsically, as if good music, can't be simple. The mindset is utter bullshit. um, my dad also liked Baroque music, um, and, a handful of other little things, but he was really kind of in the jazz thing, and between that and classical music school and piano lessons, I also got a little bit of that musical elitism in myself, but fortunately, through a lot of introspection and also political education, I'm starting to see music a little bit differently. Um, as I said, I rebel against the idea that some musics are, quote, better than another, because every single metric you could possibly think of um, to quantify the quality of music is arbitrary and subjective. You could say, oh, well, these musicians are more technically proficient or better, or whatever. And I would say, well, so what? You can have a completely uninspiring performance from a technical wizard, or you could have a very inspiring performance by somebody who messes up every other bar. You could have a beautiful, moving performance by somebody who doesn't keep their pitch wonderfully. Um, so technical ability, that's bullshit. That doesn't make music better. Um, my dad would he'd talk about chords, as if the number of chords mattered, um, or jazzers are gonna get all high and mighty about their wonderful little extensions. Oh, a chord's boring if it doesn't have a ninth or a 13th or a sharp 11th or a double flat 23rd or whatever the fuck they like to put on their chords. I mean, I like to do it too. Um, but chord extensions aren't intrinsically better. They add color. If you want a particular kind of color, you use extensions. If you don't want that particular kind of color, if that particular color doesn't serve the intention and the spirit of the music you're in, then don't put them in. People will use these things as metrics for what makes music better. Um, Whereas really they're just metrics for understanding the differences between different kinds of music. Thankfully, my jazz teacher, who his name was Ray Brown, not the bassist, the famous bassist Ray Brown, but a different Ray Brown who plays trumpet and is not black, and I'm pretty sure is still alive. He teaches or taught in excuse me, Santa Cruz, and he taught me and my sibling and a bunch of my friends. Thankfully, he did not have that attitude. I don't feel like he had that attitude. There was stuff he didn't like as much, but most of the stuff he said he didn't like was within the jazz realm. Um, he had strong opinions about playing outside. Uh, he had strong opinions about playing. Uh, well, those aren't my opinions, though. Oh, this is what you get with an unscripted rant. Thanks a lot, whoever. Forgot who suggested this. Oops. Um, anyway. What else can I rant about with jazz? Oh, here you go. This is, somewhat of another my dad thing, but hey, I've got family issues. Haha. um, my dad still tries to play jazz regularly. He lives in LA, a lot of jazz clubs there, but he is complaining about not getting gigs. And what really irks me is jazzers like him who somehow seem to expect jazz to be as they understand it, bebop from the 60s or whatever, or even fusion from the 80s or 70s. Like, it's almost like they expect it to stay that way and they expect the demand to never go away. Similar to how a lot of people are with classical music these days, honestly. Like, the sister choir of the choir I'm in did an all Beethoven choral vocal performance the other month, and um, there wasn't very good turnout. And I was slightly entertained by the director's distress and confusion at this Beethoven concert not, selling so well. And I'm thinking, like, Beethoven's great, Coltrane's great, but like, and they'll always have like a hallowed place in the musical halls, but we don't have to keep listening to them all the time, and we don't have to act like they represent some pinnacle of music. Beethoven's great, but like he keeps on being dead longer, and we keep on doing more, work. I'm doing a lot of introspection into the classical tradition and how kind of problematic it is, and everybody's all made the observations of like dead white guys, yeah, and I'm kind of like, yeah, do we need to venerate the same dead white guy again? Like, you have a limited number of concerts, and, and you're gonna fill one of them with a composer that everybody has heard before. You couldn't even put anything modern in. You couldn't even put in some neoclassical. Like, there's stuff out there, you know. And so classical musicians and jazz musicians, I think, share this, where they seem to have a sense of entitlement or expectation around their music, the music they whatever will be hallowed and venerated forever. And I'm thinking, I'm like, my dad isn't very receptive to the stuff. I'm not really bothering, but like, part of me wants to be like, hey, you could get a gig playing lo-fi chill hop if you find a drummer who can do that weird shit. Like, that's all jazz samples. Or you could get gigs, you could get, gigs recording in the studio some fresh guitar licks to put into some modern stuff. I mean, people are taking jazz and fusing it with other styles. They're remixing it. They're still doing stuff with it. It's still relevant, but it's changing, and it's always going to change. And actually, I run into the same traditionalist mindset with, tango dancers and tango musicians. Sometimes they all just want to play and dance to this, 20-year period of music, as if music doesn't change, as if art and culture don't change. Um, so I have actually, honestly, a tiny little bit of Schadenfreude. Um, I hope he doesn't watch this. I mean, it's when he complains about not having gigs, I'm just like, you're just not using your imagination, dude. Like, there are so many opportunities to play music out there, and you are really good. My dad has got chops and experience and an ear, and um, what I don't like about particular kinds of music is they can draw you into this little echo chamber. I hate using that word because it's a buzzword now, but of music where you and your friends are just doing this all the time, and you kind of get comfortable, and you don't really think about the fact that culture and music and tastes and everything change, demands change, and getting all upset because there aren't any good bebop gigs anymore is just arguing with reality, honestly. It's like, okay, well, if you want to keep playing music, then find find what people want and see if there's anything that you can resonate with, you know? There's more music than just these same few guys and the style they developed, you know? Jazz is a wonderful tool, I will say. I'm really glad I studied it in college, even though I don't really play it much. Because like if you can play jazz, you can kind of play anything. You know, I will say that it is complex and it's hard and it's quite an achievement to play well. And I can understand why people who play it well, you know, can get a little chip on their shoulder because there's so much work that goes into being a good jazz player. Um, but it's easy to lose your eye on the prize. Why are we playing music at all? Why are we making art? Like, what does it even come from? I don't know exactly, but I see art and music as expressions of human desires and emotions and thoughts and all these things. And music and dance as well. Like, we didn't invent music to, you know, look cool on paper or be, you know, sound cool only if you really know a particular style. I mean, music can be an acquired taste. I mean, I enjoy myself a little bit of Morton Feldman myself every once in a while, but you know, expecting people to like music because it has certain qualities that aren't necessarily directly tied to the emotional experience. Like if you make your music needlessly complex or add a bunch of weird, crazy harmonies or time signatures or whatever, you know, it's great. And if you enjoy it, you do it, great. But don't act like, you know, people should be interested or care about your little geeky thing with music. You know, if it doesn't speak to them, it doesn't speak to them, you know. And that's where, you know, get into the whole thing of like people complaining about audiences and I say criticizing your audience, you know, is like a doctor criticizing their patients. It's like, no, this is what you got, okay? Your job as an artist, as a musician, if you want to make music for people, if you want to make music for people, if you want to gig, you know, unless you want to gig entirely for you, then pay people to show up and they'll do it. But if you want to make music for people and connect with them, you have to know it connects with them. And, you know, for a lot of people, bebop doesn't do it anymore. That's okay, you know? That's okay. There's new kinds of music, you know, even at age 76, you can still uh, you can still um, or however old you are. I'm being a little bit mean to my dad, but I'm kind of, I will admit, I'm a little upset about the musical elitism and his not teaching me guitar when I was interested in it, and his kind of being a jerk to my mom about all the time about music. And so welcome to Azalea's little family music processing session. I hope it was insightful or at least entertaining. I should probably stop now because I'm at like 13 minutes. And okay, well, challenge accepted. I ranted about jazz and some other things. I wish I could remember who suggested jazz. I'm going to find out. Hold on. Okay, so I looked it up and on my timeline, and it was my friend Phoenix who suggested jazz. Although I realized that they said rant about either people who love jazz or people who hate jazz, which I sort of did, I guess, but I kind of forgot that detail. So sorry, Phoenix, if I didn't answer your rant challenge perfectly, but um, I hope it still satisfies. Uh, like and subscribe.